There we go. Okay, so welcome everybody to the A to Z's of the overseas student experience, with this segment focusing on getting to know the Scholarship Secretariat. So thank you everyone who's here, everyone that's watching this as a recording, and those that are trickling in later. I'm going to introduce myself as well as my co-lead student ambassador Zoe, and then we're going to get right into the session. So for those that aren't already aware, what is Cayman Connection and who are we and why are we here doing these talks as part of our student offer? Well, Cayman Connection is a not-for-profit organization that is based in the Cayman Islands, but facilitates connecting Caymanians and friends of Cayman all over the globe. So we do social events, networking, we facilitate Caymanians, especially students that focus on getting their education overseas or developing professionally and moving for whatever reason, and also those who are connected to those persons. So in our capacity as lead student ambassadors, Zoe and myself, our pictures up there, we run the student offer for Cayman Connection, which focuses on facilitating and supporting Caymanian students that study overseas in their academic, social, and professional endeavors, whether that be if they come home or just generally overseas in the UK, the US, Canada, and Asia, and etc. We're expanding every day. So keep a lookout for us and any opportunities. If you guys would be interested in joining the team as a student ambassador, that's kind of what Zoe and myself do, but you might recognize some familiar faces down there. We have a board of directors, we have people that lead weekly yard meetings, and then we also have a lot of in-person events in the UK and the US, which is extremely exciting, so that we can connect and share music, food, culture, and just friendship. So that's a big part of what we do on the social side of things as well. More importantly, today's specific A to Z's of the student experience call has some amazing special guests that we would love to welcome from the Cayman Islands Government Scholarship Secretariat, Ms. Stephanie Scott and James Geary. Welcome, you guys. Thank you so much for being on the call.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks. Would you mind just giving a brief introduction about yourselves and your role at the Secretariat for those listening?
Sure. As you mentioned, my name is Stephanie Scott. I'm a scholarship administrator here. I've been here for I think this is my 5th year now I'm going into. So I've been here for a while. I know quite a bit, and I'm excited to speak with everyone and answer your questions. Pretty much I'm one of your go-to persons here at the Secretariat. I'll let James talk. He is our newest member of the team.
Well, hello everybody. Thanks for that intro, Stephanie. I'm James Geary, and as Stephanie mentioned, I'm the newest member, one of the scholarship administrators here at the Ministry of Education and Scholarship Secretariat. We're giving an intro, yeah? Quick little intro. Okay. So I've worked in the government for the past 5 years in a couple of other roles, and I was also a previous scholarship recipient. Which is a big reason of why I ventured into this role. And actually, every degree I studied, I actually utilize here. So from going off to coming back, I run a promotions and events company, and I'm a live musician, travel and touring, and then the other part of my degree is what I've used to work in the government. I'm also actually an ambassador and corporate member for Cayman Connections as well. So we're all tied in here.
Exactly. Cayman connected, as it were. So thank you guys so much for introducing yourselves. You guys obviously have a lot of experience working with the Secretariat and just being in Cayman in general. And James, you mentioned that you were a previous recipient of the government scholarship. So we're kind of, the aim for this call is to get to know you guys and put a face to the name for all those who maybe are past recipients and just never was able to picture human beings working in the Secretariat, or those new students who are just trying to get this scholarship for the first time and want to maybe have a more human side of the Secretariat. So if they have a question, they know who to reach out to, or they know who to come and find if they want to get in touch. Thank you guys for those bios. And we're just going to move on really quickly to talking about more generally any best practice tips that you, maybe as individual administrators or in general, if you want to speak on behalf of the Secretariat as a whole, have for prospective and kind of current students that are on the scholarship, about just making sure that we're honoring the agreement that we make as recipients, and anything that we can do to make your lives easier, essentially.
Alrighty, so I guess we'll talk from once you've applied or once you're applying, all the way to once you've completed once you've actually completed your actual scholarship bond, which is you're a recipient of a scholarship and you're on scholarship for X amount of years. So the first thing you want to do is when you're applying is make sure you read our frequently asked questions, because there's a lot of information on there, especially it'll let you know how much funding that you can get. A lot of persons apply and they don't realize it's only up to a specific amount, which is 30,000 KYD, which it's a lot of money, but there are a lot of schools where for the year it might be $60,000 USD. You know, the conversion rate is great, but where are you going to get the rest of the funding from? We love to let applicants know that you don't have to just apply to us for scholarship. Please apply for private scholarships. There's a lot of different private scholarships out there in the Cayman Islands. There is this wonderful little booklet that's printed by, I think, the Yellow Pages. It's the scholarship directory. They list every scholarship available within the Cayman Islands that you can apply for, and most of them, at least 90% of them, are for overseas studies. So we do encourage everyone to do that, not only apply to us, but apply to them as well, because you never know when you're at university, especially maybe North America, your fees can change at a blink of an eye. We've seen this before. So we do encourage you to apply for other scholarships, find out from the universities that you're at if they have anything that they offer as well. Sometimes if you're an athlete or if you are an honor student, they offer you smaller grants. It might not be $60,000, but it may be $10,000, $15,000 for the year, which does help with things like your tuition or room and board. Every little bit helps. And of course, I mean, a student loan sounds scary, but if you're going to a university that is a lot of money for the year, $80,000 at those lovely Ivy Leagues, our scholarship and another scholarship might not cover everything. So there may be an instant that you might have to go and get a student loan. And we definitely encourage you to also look at the options that are locally at the local banks. If you're overseas, you might have to look there as well. But I would definitely start with on island first before you go overseas. You'll probably get better rates. Once you've completed your scholarship, like I know some of you on the call may be at your final semester or may have completed your requirements, you are bonded. So that's a document that you would have signed, your guarantor would have signed. So that might have been your parent or your guardian. You are bonded to come back home and work within the Cayman Islands for that time period. So if you have a 4-year undergraduate bond document, you're supposed to come back home and work within the Cayman Islands for 4 years. Not for us here at the government, but at least within the Cayman Islands. And I mean, that could be starting your own business, working in a law firm if you have a law degree, if you have a medical degree, working within the different clinics or the hospitals. If you're not able to find a job within the field that you studied, let us know. We can always tell you what avenues to, different persons to reach out to, try this way, just to get you on, your bearings right. We want to make sure, that's why we have the interview process. Of course, after you've applied, we've vetted you, the interviews is next. And you normally get interviewed by someone within the field. And we want you to, that's the first way of networking, to get connected with that person within that field, so that when you're coming home for Christmas or for the summers, you have someone that you're connected to and you're able to, reach out and see if they have any internship options, or if at the end of your scholarship or your time at university, you're able to come back home and see if you can get work within the field.
Okay,
I don't know if, no problem. I was going to say, I don't know if James wants to answer being a recipient, and coming back home. He can probably give you a little bit more about that process.
Thanks so much, Stephanie. So I think one of the big things that we need to be very cognizant of when seeking scholarships or professions is be prepared. You know, when you think about your journey from high school to university, most students here don't even know what catching a bus is like, right? Because oftentimes they're transported by their parents everywhere. When you're off to university, ain't nobody transporting you nowhere. So you have to really know exactly what it is you're getting yourself into. And so I would say a part of the preparation process is get used to some of that independence from an earlier time, maybe in your last 2 years of school. Get used to catching the bus to school, the bus around Cayman. Get used to opening your own bank account here. Get used to doing a lot more things that are going to develop you socially. Because the reality is, you can be as smart as you want, and there are a lot of smart people that go off here. But things like your mental health come into play big time when you go abroad. So being prepared for culture shock. And this is a big thing for me because I studied this and did presentations on culture shock. Um, is understanding what that's going to look like. Because when you leave, Cayman is a specific type of environment that a lot of other places aren't. And when you go, you're going to experience culture shock. And so understanding that and being well prepared for those experiences, making sure you have support. You know, we're talking about a lot of the official processes of getting a scholarship, but remember, if you're not maintaining these processes, it's going to you can potentially jeopardize your scholarship opportunity, right? Because you are bonded to us. You do have requirements that you need to follow, and if you don't have these things in place, support, preparedness, you know, it's going to be harder for you. And
Mm,
also recognizing the connection to your international student association wherever you're at university at, getting connected there, being connected to Cayman Connections and a mentor from here in your field, um, career guidance, right? And counseling for that, seeking that out early because you know the what happened to me as a student is I was a triple major, right? So I studied sociology, music business, and music education. Um, and I use all of those things now, but I also went through a whole bunch of experience growing up. So when you're in high school, get involved. Do not limit yourself. It's good to have an idea of what you want to do, but you're also 17 or 16 or whatever your age is. And so be open to that being able to change. Be committed to, and I've been talking a lot, so I'm a bit long-winded. Be committed to your personal development, and you will be successful in university and in any career you put your head to.
that's amazing. That's really good advice. Thank you so much. And I feel like it's very applicable across the age groups that are recipients of the government scholarship. So that's really valuable advice. Thank you so much, you guys. Focusing on not just necessarily the financial aspect, but how your mental health and your social connections help you succeed in your academic life, which allows you to honor the agreement as a recipient and make sure that your time at university is successful. That's really great. Is there anything else you guys like to share, or should we move on to the questions that I have been sent in?
We can take some questions.
Okay, perfect. And obviously we can be relaxed and talk about these at large. They're not like rapid fire, one sentence responses, which is nice because
Of
we can
course.
kind of dive into the nuances of it all. So it's going to be led by us, obviously, but if people join at all, they can obviously put their questions in the chat or shout it out. But I was sent a few questions. They're mainly from people that are kind of in their last year of their undergraduate or in postgraduate or looking to apply for a postgraduate scholarship. So that's just the context of these questions. But I'll start with one that actually came from someone that is due to start in September, their undergraduate degree in their first year. So this is kind of a more basic question, I would say. And she's studying in the south of England. She's studying business, and she just wanted to know kind of generally what is the best way for students to submit their receipts. So, she's like, it feels a bit clunky to like scan, or is there a best way that you guys enjoy visually being presented with the receipts? And what's the best way that we can do that?
So if she's new, then she's familiar with our portal. We have a new website, and we have our scholarship portal on there. This is where everything is done, from applications. Once you've been accepted for the scholarship or approved for the scholarship, even your official scholarship documents, so like the bond documents and so forth, they're sent through there. And then when it comes to funding, you're always notified you've got your first disbursement of funding. So if she's new, she's either gotten her first disbursement or waiting on her first disbursement. So the following semester now, the receipts that we're asking for are normally what we call the big ticket items: your tuition, your rent, your airfare, and maybe your transportation and health insurance, depending on where you're at. I know if you're in the UK, you may not need to provide us with health insurance details, but in North America, they may need that. We have an expense spreadsheet that is in the portal, or you can email us and we'll always send that to you as well. That's what you have to complete at the end of every semester. So at the end of fall semester, since we're going into fall, they'll have to provide, what they paid already for tuition and rent, and, their first ticket, because they get 2 tickets for the year, 2 round trip tickets. So the first round trip ticket, and then from there, we're not asking for anything at the end of the spreadsheet, because those are set items. We normally just have them at a maximum. We just say, leave it at the maximum. Don't worry about providing us with your grocery receipts, because that's where it tends to get a little tricky, and there's little things here and there. Maybe you bought something from McDonald's for $2. Maybe you went grocery shopping and you spent $50. Maybe you went out at a restaurant and you spent $30. So those things are like those little small receipts that are everywhere. Don't worry about groceries, it's maxed out. What we really want are those first about 4 or 5 line items, the big things. Yep. And if you're unsure, always shoot us an email. And we will respond. We normally try to respond within 24 to 48 hours. If you're trying to get us right now, it is our busy peak season, so we take a little bit longer. We do apologize, but it's a high volume. Everyone's trying to get in contact with us. But normally about 24 or 48 hours, we'll respond to you and give you an answer. But yeah, just those 4 or 5 lines on the expense spreadsheet. And those are either going to be your statements from the school itself, or if you've made purchases. So for your airfare, just keep the, if you've paid through a travel agent, they should have emailed you a receipt or an invoice. If you're going through Expedia or a site like that, just make sure you save those emails, because that's fine. Everything just needs to be uploaded. And then the portal will give you different sections of where they should be uploaded in.
That's amazing, because that actually also leads me on to a second question that I had for a student that has been a recipient, or she graduated. So she's been a recipient for her 4 years, but she studied in the States. So she had the government scholarship along with some private scholarships to cover the high total for tuition and living expenses, etc. So even though she's familiar with the government scholarship, she's not familiar with, say, now she wants to pursue a master's in the UK. She's not familiar with only having the government scholarship and having to provide these maybe smaller receipts, because in her mind, the whole government scholarship was always going to just tuition. So her question is, say you are quite literally just using the 30,000, the government scholarship, for everything. So rent, bills, etc. Obviously the big ticket items, it's kind of straightforward about how to show that. But say you do need to prove that you've spent the whole amount, and you are using a sum of that on things like groceries. Is that still expected to be provided as a receipt or receipts, or is it just now, say if you're being able to prove that you've spent 27,000 and then the rest of it is just these maxed out smaller categories, are you no longer required to do that?
We don't need the receipts for groceries. It's just like I said, it's going to be too much little things here and there. You may pay cash with something, you may not save a receipt. Maybe you've paid using your debit or credit card. Those tend to be easier to track, because obviously you're able to go on and check your statements and say, all right, this is what I paid for this and that. But those things that you pay in cash and the smaller things, it adds up, those little receipts, and trying to scan them in or at least save them, take pictures of them, because we've gotten pictures and we're fine with pictures of things, but sometimes we can't read it. So
Mhm.
groceries, we normally say, don't worry about that. Just put in the maximum. We just want you to use that. Just keep that in mind, that, you know, your groceries or when you're eating out, this is the maximum. Try to keep it within that budget.
Mhm.
We encourage you to really, really keep a budget. That's why we have that spreadsheet. It's very simple, but you yourself, if you want to keep it and you know, use it more as a guide for your spending, because there, you know, within Excel, you have these little tabs if you wanted to keep track of your spending every week or every month for the time that you're there for the semester. We do encourage that as well. We only need the front page, which is the main page, but if you wanted yourself to keep it and use it as your budgeting book, then definitely encourage that. We've seen that before. I've gotten it and I'm just like, oh wow, this is really intricate. Like, you know,
Mhm.
this is amazing. Not necessarily need all this information, just the main basics, but we love that when we see that, you know, because it is a certain amount of money. And like you said, this person's going to have this amount of money. Before they had 2 scholarships, so 1 scholarship probably just covered tuition and room and board for them. And then the other scholarship probably covered everything else. It's going to be kind of hard this time around because now you have to really budget and make sure that the money is going to stretch.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that answer. I also have another question from the same person. She just wanted to
Sorry,
know
just
about whether or not the amount for online studies differed for in person, and whether or not the Secretariat had like guidance or policy relating to that.
So we do, again, in the frequently asked questions, it will let you know what you can get. It's up to a certain amount of funds. However, if it's online studies, it's only tuition and books. Just because if you're online, you don't need to have groceries, you don't need to have school supplies or dorm supplies or clothing. You're online. It's going to be more of a maybe something similar to what we're doing right now, discussions online, or maybe you're not even going onto a forum like this. Maybe everything is just there available and then you just do the work. So we don't necessarily offer, again, accommodations or flights. There are cases where you may have to go and present your thesis or your dissertation. If you're doing a PhD, for example, you would then need to fly over to that, wherever your school is located, the location. We would cover that, but that's only in certain circumstances. Not everyone's school is like that. It might be strictly online and it's just tuition and books.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. That's perfect. Another question is, what should students that are currently being affected by the marking and assessment boycott in the UK do in regards to submitting a final package of grades and receipts? This is like a very, yes, go ahead, James.
yeah, before we move on, I just kind of wanted to note something that's going to be really important to do with all the questions that you asked. And I think one of the simple ways to deal with this is take a course in budgeting, an online course in budgeting. The spreadsheet is very important, but understanding how to keep a budget solves all of these problems. And a smart way to utilize, you know, keeping things together in the same place is use your school email. You know, take pictures of receipts. We have smartphones nowadays that you can scan and documents and make them PDF right away. Stay on top of those things when they happen. Don't wait, because what happens is everything goes into a drawer and then you're scraping together to get it. Again, it's this whole concept of life skills, being very prepared from early to document as much as you can so that you are above and beyond reproach.
Mhm.
Th-
Yes,
That's
definitely.
the practice I had to follow.
I was gonna say, like, people can't even complain nowadays, because back in the day, everyone had to be taking pictures of their receipts, and before smartphones, you had to keep track of these things. So while now, you know, it's amazing that the scholarship isn't requiring absolutely every itemized pound or dollar, but back in the day, it was more stringent, and you know, you can't complain because people had to do it. So yeah,
Very,
just
very.
mhm, having that personal responsibility and knowing that, you know, it's a blessing that you get to be a recipient of a scholarship and take that personal responsibility with you every single day. So yeah, I'll just say this for those listening in. There's Cam Scanner, which is a really good app that I used before the iPhone released a feature on the Notes application that comes with every iPhone where you can scan things immediately into that. So that's a good tip that I always recommend to people, is just, it's already on the iPhone, your Notes, you can scan anything with your phone. And it's super easy. If something's over 20 pounds, just do a little scan right there and then, or, you know, whatever receipt you get. But yeah, the question that I got was from someone that had recently graduated from a 3-year bachelor's program in England. And it's regarding the industrial action that's currently happening in 150 plus universities in the UK. Yeah, I'm sure you guys are aware of it. I'm sure a lot of people that have siblings or just friends in that situation are aware of it. But just basically, like, what is the scholarship secretariat's position on, you know, a timeline perhaps for those people who haven't gotten their grades and maybe don't know when they will be receiving those?
Yes, so we've gotten lots of emails about the
Mhm.
marking strike. We are trying to figure out the best way to work around it, because the grades are important to maintain your scholarship, because it is an academic scholarship. But with the marking strike, no one knows when they're going to get their grades. So we're still trying to work on that. We don't have a definite answer right now. It's something that we've been getting some emails in the past week about. I guess persons were hoping that by now they would have grades. Because we did get emails before, like last month. Oh, you decided, you know, my school's on a strike, so I'm hoping to get my grades at the end of August or so. And they've written back again, well, I'm still not sure what's happening. So we're now just trying to figure out what the best way or the best approach will be for these recipients to get their funds. So we should hopefully be able to send an email out to everyone, letting them know what to expect. Yeah,
Mhm.
because they could be striking until next year. So we don't want to say, oh, wait, and then
Yeah.
we're waiting until January, because you need to get
Exactly.
money to pay for your flights and your rent, and your, you know, maybe your first tuition down payment. So
Yes.
right now, we just ask, just be patient, and we'll be sending out more information on what will happen with what we're going to do with if you get grades or not in the next couple weeks, or not until next year.
That's good. That's good that the advice is sit tight, don't stress too much. Obviously, you guys are aware of the situation and you know it's not the student's fault. That's comforting. That's going to be very comforting to a lot of people that have personally reached out to Zoe and myself about that issue. This is one that came from someone that's a prospective student. Any advice for students going into the scholarship interview besides, you know what you're talking about? Anything that you would just recommend, yeah, someone that maybe has one coming up and they are a bit nervous?
It's hard to not be nervous during an interview. You never know what's going to happen. But the best thing that we can do, what we can say, is to make sure that the information you provided on your application, just to know a bit of it, you know, it's always going to be that famous, you know, they're going to always ask, so tell us about yourself. You know, that's always something that happens in any kind of interview that you go into. So knowing a little bit about yourself, you know, not just to say, hi, I'm Stephanie, I am X years old, and I just graduated from high school. That's it. We want to know a little bit more. What were you doing at high school? Were you participating in any extracurriculars? Were you involved in sports? Anything outside of high school? What are your dreams? What are your aspirations? You know, have you done any work experience within this area? I mean, I can't give you all the the
No, of
answers to the
course.
questions, because everyone has to answer them in their own way.
Mhm.
But I feel like a lot of persons get tripped up on that one. You know, it's always like, I don't know what to say, because it's an on the spot kind of questions. But definitely make sure you go back over the information about your school. You know, what's your school ranked? You know, what's your school famous for? Because, you know, you have schools that are just, you know, they're all-rounded great schools, but they may be ranked top 10 for medical or business or engineering. So if that's what you're going to school for, tell us about the university, you know, a little bit more about why is it that you want to study this particular program or this particular degree? We just want to know a little bit more why, the whys, why, because you might have really amazing grades, but we have to make sure that you have an understanding about what this particular subject area, this particular program that you're going to go and study, what is that going to do for the Cayman Islands? How is it going to benefit us? Because we're in the business of human capital development, right? And we want to make sure that when you come home, there is going to be a spot for you that you know of, that you're supposed to be telling us that I'm going to study to be a nurse because I know that we always need nurses, the country's growing, whatever reason it might be. It's an interview, you don't have to know all of the answers, and there's no right or wrong answer. We're just making sure that you have an understanding of what this particular degree that you're planning to go study is about. I see James wants to go also say some words.
Yeah, great remarks. And for me, the big part about that would just be know what your place in this world of Cayman is going to be and in the world around you, and talk about that, right? When going abroad for Cayman, think about being a global ambassador, because when you're abroad, people are going to be asking you the same questions that the interviewers are going to be asking you. Where's the Cayman Islands? Know your culture, know your heritage, but also as it relates to your major, understand what role that's going to play in Cayman. And if it's going to play a role in Cayman, it'll play a role in the world. And people overseas will see that the less research you do and understanding of what your role is in this world, the less opportunity you're going to grasp when you go abroad. You have to really think big, right? In the fact that you need to understand that when you are purposeful, right, with this degree, opportunities open up for you overseas. And when they open up for you overseas and you come back with them, you're in a much better position to join the workforce, right? Because when you're joining the workforce here, you're not just joining a locally based workforce, you're joining an internationally based workforce. So it's competitive, right? So you need to, that's why you're going to get these questions. And so if you can't come to an interview and not be prepared for the interview, that says a lot about your preparedness for the world. You might not know all of what you're going to do, but have a good understanding of what you think you want to do so you can speak on that.
Yes. Yeah, as we said in the chat, great tips for any interview, and also any kind of, like you said, opportunity that you're looking out for yourself. You need to be able to sell yourself. Why do you deserve this over someone else, or, at all? So yeah, that's amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much for those comments. I have one final question that's been submitted to me here, which asks about potentially taking, like, what does the scholarship secretariat think about if, say, they know that they want to come back to Cayman, they have, say, history interning with a firm or a company in Cayman, but that company is kind of like, you can take a year or two to travel, or if you want to work somewhere, say you get offered a postgraduate training opportunity overseas, and the Cayman firm that's, that they see themselves in the future is open to them taking that opportunity straight out of college. Is the requirement to come back immediate? Does that immediate effect after your studies, or could that be, delayed by a few years depending on the person's situation?
We normally give up to 1 year after you've completed. Anytime after that, please write into us, because we'll have to then present that case to our council, and council will make a yes or no on that decision, because we want you to come home, we want you to start working, we want you to start contributing to the community, because we spend a lot of money on you, the government has, and we just want to make sure that every Caymanian that has gone overseas and has gotten funds to obtain a degree, they're able to come back home and fill those spots and do good for the country. As I said before, you get a year. So after you've finished your 3 year, your 4 years on your undergrad, and just let us know via email that you're going to be taking that 1 year, and maybe you're going to travel, or maybe you're going to work within wherever you're currently at. So say in the UK, maybe you're studying law, you got an opportunity to work within a law firm for a year to get more experience. We would definitely say go for it, but we will get back in contact with you within a year and say, hey,
Mhm,
you're coming home now. What's the deal? You need to let us know. It's normally
mhm.
just a year though, because we don't want you to get too comfortable over there because we need you to come back home. We need to see a return on our investment.
Definitely. Thank you for that clarification, because I feel like that might not have, some people are just like, I don't know. Yeah, so that's really good that that's information that Cayman Connection can share with its members and whoever watches this recording. James, I think you had your hand up first.
Yeah, keep in mind this year that you get coincides with in the US the OPT program that you can stay on as long as you finish a certain degree. I believe it's bachelor's or master's level. Um, you get a year to be able to practice in the field. So sometimes people want to take a little break to travel in a bit as well, or do an internship, which will be very useful to you. That's one point I had there.
Mhm. Yes, exactly. Go ahead, Jared.
Yeah, the question that I had in relation to the peak season, is July to August the only peak season that you have for overseas scholarships? When is the other peak season? Because most of my students in Canada think scholarship is always busy. So yeah, a little clarity on when the peak seasons are.
Right now is one of our busiest seasons, so July to about September, because all the new recipients are trying to get their documents and funding, and all the returning or all the current scholars are trying to get funds as well. So it's we're just, the amount of emails, the amount of calls, we're trying to get documents out. The phone's ringing, like the two lines are lighting up. We're just trying to get everything done in a timely manner, especially with payments. We have to send out the information to our bank by a specific time. So then they can distribute the funds to the other banks locally. And hopefully you get it by the end of the day. So we are also on a schedule. The other busy time for us would be Christmas. So that December to January period. So in December, when we send out the information saying that you can now go on the portal and upload documents, up until about the end of January is super busy, just because also Christmas holiday, the banks are closed, everywhere else is closed, the schools are closed for holiday. Everyone's on vacation, so that might be the recipients themselves, as well as in the office here, we may be short-staffed because people will be on vacation. They're entitled to take vacation. They have kids that they want to take vacation with. So it does get a little bit busy for us. So we do ask that, if you send us an email today and we don't answer within an hour, it's because we're busy. We may not be able to answer right away. We may answer you the next day. And of course, if you see how many unread emails we have right now, because we have so much to get back to, just note that we're not purposely ignoring you. It's just that we have to do the emails as they come in order. Same thing with when you send in your documents. It's done in the order that they've sent in. So we can see the timestamp on there and it will filter it in. So whoever came in today at 9 o'clock versus someone who might have just submitted their documents 5 minutes ago, we're going to look at that person who came in at 9 versus that person who came in 5 minutes ago.
Mhm. James?
I want to piggyback on that. Your first question to us was, what are some of the most important things that students should be looking out for? Being accurate, that's a big one. Sending in accurate documents and not emailing 5 minutes after you submitted them, or calling 5 minutes after you submitted them, right? It's not the end of the
Mhm.
world. We're going to get to them, but the more volume that we're getting of emails that are happening just after you submitted or wanting a response right away doesn't help us. There are 6 persons in this office. And so keeping in mind, following the direct instructions that are on the website and looking at the questions that are already on the facts will save us a lot of time from answering all of those questions. What happens in offices like this is the bombardment of those things that are happening. So again, it speaks to how prepared you are. And not how prepared your parent is in applying for you, how prepared you are. Because if you have your parents applying on your behalf, and they're answering all the questions for you. And we need to get information from you because you're the person going off and studying, right?
Mhm.
So that's going to be a big part of your development, is making sure that you read through all the directions on the application, you submit everything on time and in a timely manner. I just wanted to note that our um, applications, if I'm correct, Ms. Stephanie, open up November 15th, and go till January 31st, and they're strictly online applications. Using that portal that we have is your key to success. It has links to everything. So really try to peruse that, so that we have less volume and can answer some of the more pressing matters more quickly. Hope that
Mhm.
helps.
Yes. And in regards to communication in general, is there a best practice like that you would love to see from students? For example, not calling or just saying, I don't know, like how would students make your lives easier in terms of just communication when they did have a more urgent or non-FAQ related question or query?
The calls are fine. Please note we don't work on weekends. So if
Yeah.
you're trying to get a hold of us, you want to get a hold of us Monday to Friday,
Mhm.
8:30 to 5. That's when the office is open.
Mhm.
Not on public holidays. So you may be calling us and not realizing that it was a public holiday, because we've had that before. You're over in the US and we have a day that's a holiday. That's not a holiday in the US, for example. So just keep aware of what the holidays are here at home. But normally a phone call is fine. Right now it's just very busy. Emails are also really great because then you can have a paper trail. So you don't want to have a phone call with someone and then, 6 months later, we're trying to backtrack what we said 6 months ago. So an
Mhm.
email is always great. We try to follow up with the email after we've spoken to people on the phone. So you might get, thanks for, speaking to me earlier. Just want to really, just go over what we spoke about, X, Y, and Z. But an email is always great, especially if you're going to be sending anything to us, attachments, or if you want us to know about anything going on in your life, let us know. As James said, it's 6 of us in here. 2 persons works for strictly on local applications. 4
Mhm.
of us are overseas, administrator, myself, James, and we have our 2 other colleagues, Mr. Costa and Ms. McLean. And then our manager is Dr. Shari Smith, and our supervisor is Dr. Nicole Thompson.
Mhm.
You know, give any one of us a call. We all work together. So if you think that you only need to speak directly to me and you call and I'm not in office, maybe I'm sick, I'm off, you can speak to anybody else because we all have access to the information. We want it. Don't email us personally to our personal emails, email it into scholarships@gov.ky so that everyone can see it. So if someone's on vacation, I could pick it up. You don't have to worry about, I sent it to Miss Elaine. Miss Elaine was off. Maybe she's off for a week and you're waiting for a response. If you send it into scholarships, and maybe myself or James, we will see it and we'll say, oh yeah, we saw your email. We see that you said, Miss Elaine, can you help me? But sure, Miss Elaine's not in today, but I'll be able to assist you. Do you need us to give you a phone call? Because there's so many different issues that might happen with a recipient or a applicant, and you wanted to let us know. So a phone call is fine. An email is preferred just because we can be able to revert back to anything that was said in the past or anything that you've provided to us in the past, just in case like it's a case that we have to take to council, or
Mhm.
if, again, someone new starting like James, maybe he's helping someone and he just has to look through the emails to see what's happened before in communication to your case, anything. So emails first, phone call second. If it is
Mhm.
urgent, go ahead and go ahead and give us a call. If you would like us to call you, I know internationally it's hard to call. Just say, hey, can you send us an email? Hey, can you please call me? We can call you internationally, whether it be a direct line or WhatsApp call. We can call you on either means and speak to you. So don't feel like you have to call us and you're worried about your minutes and so forth, or even if your plan that you're on allows for international calls, because I know sometimes the parents will call on your behalf as well and try to explain what it is that you're trying to tell us, or try to figure out what's happening with your information. Just shoot us an email. Hi, I'm having some issues with X, Y, and Z. Could you please call me at this number or WhatsApp me at this number? And someone will try their very best and get back to you either the same day or the next day. Again, it depends. Like right now, it's very hard to get back to everyone like within the same day. So we just ask, yeah, send us an email, phone call second. If it's urgent, phone call first.
Perfect. That's amazing advice to be able to disseminate, because I know that that's always the big one. And I was out here advising people, get Skype, get on Skype, top up your Skype account, but it might be, in certain situations better to just get you guys to ring them. So that's great to know for those that can't operate Skype for some reason. That's all the questions that I was sent in from my personal networks and the people that Zoe and myself work with, but I didn't know if you had any more questions, Jared, from any Canadian students.
Yes, they have a lot, but I will just keep it to two. When they're sending email, is there like a format such as, first name, last name, and I don't know if you have scholarship ID number or whatever, but usually the description about what the issue is that they're talking about, like that.
Yeah, we definitely need to know the applicant or the recipient's name. So please, when you're ending the email, just make sure you put your first and last name, because people might have a name like James, but we have James with a bunch of different last names, So just make sure you put your last name in there, because when we're searching for you in the system, we want to be able to know that we're finding the right person. Some emails match your name. You might have like Stephanie Scott at yahoo.com, right? And we can pick up on that, but some emails don't match the name. So definitely make sure you have your name. Let us know in the body what it is, like if it's urgent, you're looking for funds, or if you're having an issue like the marking strike. A lot of people, they had it said marking issue, and they were like, my school's been on a strike right now, and I'm not sure what to do, and so forth. And we said, we've noted your concern, and we'll get back to you once we have a definite answer on that, because we're still trying to figure out the marking strike situation. So yeah, Jared, just let them know, make sure they at least sign off with their full name, first and last name, when they're sending us an email, so we know who we're speaking to.
Okay, and the other one is I've had peers or students of mine who said, they've come back home, they've been looking for a job, and they didn't find anything, so they said they went back up, and whether or not we recorded, but they're finding issues with finding jobs when coming back home. So most of them are tending to stay put. And so what is the scholarship's response really, on locals coming back? We apply, we're still being stuck in the internship position, even though we got bachelor's and master's. So
But while we can't help you find a job, you can let us know that you're having these issues. And again, we can try to see if we can at least, persons who were in the area, especially those who may have interviewed you, if you went through the interview process, will say, okay, have you tried contacting X, Y, and Z or this company, see if they have any openings? Another thing we're supposed to also mention is that, you're supposed to register with Work WRC, because they have their little portal that will help you with getting jobs, anything that comes up, and so forth. So just let us know if you have issues. We've had persons in the past tell us they've had issues. We know that there might be areas that are very limited when it comes to positions. So if you could at least show that you're finding something in a similar field or the similar field that you're in, maybe you're not able to, just trying to think of something that's so, that doesn't have a lot of openings. I mean, if you're working in the medical field or education, we always need nurses and we always need teachers. So we're always trying to fill those. But I know more of those very smaller areas might be harder. But if you find it difficult, just contact us. Let us know what's happening in your life and we'll see what we can do to help. I mean, we can't find a job for you because we would be doing that and not actually giving out scholarships. Oh, I see James wants to chime in.
Sorry, I was struggling to get unmuted. There's also a question in the chat group that I think we should address there. Your original question was around work. Everything Miss Stephanie said, in addition to being prepared. The job market here is not easy to break into. It's not. I'm going to give you an example from myself. I studied sociology, music, and music business. My first job coming back home, I worked as a youth director at my church and music director. And I also worked as a tour manager for my sister's tour company. While working for those places, a few months after that, when I started doing my master's here, um, I got connected to the boys' home here and got a job there. And everything just kind of fell into place after that point. And so I went off and I got quite a bit of experience on just being able to be in the workspace and working, right? On being a worker, on having the right type of attitude in the workplace. So the internship experience is golden. It doesn't pay the bills, but it's golden. Um, I would say to a lot of people, do not be afraid just to jump into the workforce while you are looking for things that are better, while you're gaining more experience. Because university doesn't give you experience, it just gives you knowledge, it gives you the credentials, which will put you over other people when you're applying for jobs, but it doesn't guarantee you getting in anywhere. So, I worked two jobs when I got back home from university, that were related and some unrelated. And then I got a job as a youth specialist, and I worked there, and I worked up to working as a behavior specialist. Then I worked as a probation officer in the civil service while building my music company, while playing live gigs, which I only started playing live gigs by doing charities. So I'm saying this all to say is that you need to connect yourself, right? You need to assert yourself where you are now. So while you're studying, you need to be doing internships while you're over there. While you're studying, you need to be getting as much experience as you can, soak it up. This is the whole conversation of being well prepared, because Cayman will give you nothing more than you work for. And you've been given a head start on a lot of other people in this world by even getting a scholarship where people have to take out loans for it. So while we can assist with giving you direction, it's not our job or duty to do so. It's yours. And we're happy to assist with that, but you need to be more prepared. And a practical way of doing that would be look at your profession, look at your degree, and look at what jobs are there for you to do. Look at what persons in that position does. Do they go on? For example, in sociology, most people say in order for a sociology degree to make sense, you need to do a master's with it, right? So I thought about doing a master's and I was like, no, my sociology degree is golden because it taught me how to communicate well with people and how to understand people. And in the workplace, once you have that, you can get almost any job you want. And I've worked across many other fields with my sociology degree. So get prepared, research. If you're in marketing firms in Cayman, if you're in hospitality, get to the places that you're seeing these things happening and look at them before you even come home. If you come home and you don't have a job, or you come home and you don't have anything, then you're behind the curve. And that's all we want for students. You need to be in front of the curve from the beginning.
Mhm.
And if you don't know what the curve is, that you can ask us and we can help you find the curve. And then you find opportunities as it sees fit.
Mhm. And that's a topic that we could probably talk about forever because it's so true that you need to constantly be returning back to, I know the flights aren't cheap, but you need to be coming back to Cayman in summer and Christmas and developing those connections with firms or companies that then see you as an investment. So the scholarship's invested in you, the scholarship wants people to return and come back to Cayman, but well, what is Cayman? The workplace, the working kind of the job market right now is indeterminate for a scholarship recipient because you're not tied to anything, whereas maybe people that get other private scholarships have that tie, and for some people that might feel restrictive, but at the end of the day it's job security. And at the end of the day, you know that you have a job when you come back. And so while government scholarship recipients don't have that mandate that they need to work somewhere, it's not necessarily a bad thing. But I really think that we should go on to Gabriella's question that she put in the chat. Thank you so much for sending it in. I am aware of time for everyone. She just mentioned that she's a previous scholarship student wanting to switch careers and go into podiatry. She's been offered unconditional places at UK universities through clearing as a mature student. How likely is it that she can be awarded a scholarship considering there's one podiatrist in Cayman, but she's already had disbursements from the government scholarship as a previous recipient, how does the government scholarship kind of retrain or offer more than one scholarship?
I would ask Gabriella to send us an email so we can just do a little bit more deep diving there. We can guide her a little bit better, because I think there's probably a little bit more information that we're going to need from her. Because if she's done a degree at a specific level, we don't fund the same level twice, if that's what she's asking. However, if you wanted to move, so if you already have an undergraduate degree and now you want to switch over to medicine, which is what it is, that's a different topic. I mean, again, that's another field that we're always looking for people to fill in the Cayman Islands. So definitely send us an email. We'll be able to guide you better and let you know if it's possible or how you can go about getting another scholarship from us. Hopefully that helps, Gabrielle.
Yes, and also Gabriella, feel free to message us as well if you need any additional support or information. The Scholarship Secretariat, send them an email. Thank you so much for that question, because it's obviously very important, and probably some people have thought about it before as well. So just having that kind of question up there is great. How are you guys for time? I don't want to keep anybody on that has to go. I have to run off, unfortunately, but I might, if people want to stay on, if there are any more questions, I might just hand over to Zoe for like 5 minutes. But is there anything else you guys wanted to say? The only thing left for us really is to talk about the fact that, going on to what James was talking about how mental health and culture shocks are foundational to, tackling those things is foundational to success as an overseas student. We're gonna have a mini series about preparing to move coming August 22nd, where we tackle, preparing to move overseas and what a culture shock feels like for Caymanian students going to the UK, the US, Canada, Asia. We're going to look at mental health and how to support yourself as someone living on your own for the first time. And we are promoting that like crazy on our socials. So if you're interested in attending those sessions, we're starting on August 22nd, but we're going to lead those into September to help those people that are going off island transition, but also start early enough for American students to benefit from those sessions. So looking forward to hosting those. It just ties in with everything you guys have said. And yeah, preparing for the big move. Exactly. So Zoe's got the details in the chat. That's what's coming up next for Cayman Connection. Is there anything that you guys would like to say?
Feel free to contact us. I think the email was put into the chat. If you need us to call you, just send us an email with your number. We'll call you. Ayanda, the information for the session that's coming up on the 22nd. I don't know if you want to send it to us so then maybe we could forward it along to our new recipients.
Of course.
See if we can just send them an email, because maybe they're not aware. Some of them are already overseas already at their school, so maybe they're not thinking about social media, more so preparing themselves for school, especially those in the US. I know they should be there now for their orientation and their school, probably starting the week after. So, but yeah, just reach out to us. Like I said, James said, there's 6 of us in the office, and we'll be able to assist you.
One more thing that relates to contactability, Gabriella asked if the Scholarship Secretariat has a WhatsApp number to phone on, and she'll also be sending an email later. Thank you. But do you guys operate ever on WhatsApp, or is it just
We do. We all have our own individual phones. So it's best for her to just ask us to call, because at any time it could be myself or one of my other colleagues that would be calling, and we don't share the same number. So we all have different numbers. So whenever you want someone to call, just say, "Can you please call? I want to speak about X, Y, and Z," and someone in the office will call you. Again, if we speak today and you ask for us to call you again next week and someone's off, maybe I'm off, someone else will be able to then pick up. So in the email, just say what it's about. So then if it's not me again, then another administrator will be able to pick up on what the conversation was.
Great. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, just to also say for people on the call that are interested, we have a $25 Amazon gift voucher as a prize for the next call for people that are engaged. So that's an incentive to come. Also to see Zoe and I's beautiful face. But if there's nothing else, thank you guys so much for attending. Thank you to our speakers, our knowledgeable speakers.